Jazeera senior political analyst Marwan Bishara joins us on Skype from Paris. And so, Marwan, just picking up on Kristen's comments there about the very passionate remarks made by the Palestinian representative Majed Bamya, and very powerful, not just perhaps in his description of the suffering of the Palestinians, but also in the way he was explaining how it has been allowed to happen and the sort of level of cruelty and dehumanization to the point where bodies have been reduced to numbers in unmarked graves, and where Palestinians are called human animals in language and rhetoric that is accepted, even in some cases encouraged by Israel's allies.
Yes, for many months now, in fact, for many years, we've heard from Israelis and Palestinians speaking across each other. They don't even meet at any one point. There are two speeches meant for two different audiences, as if within their own ecosystem. And it sounds, at least from the Israeli side, there's always a zero-sum game. But today, there was something different. It wasn't just about the passion, which was there, and the humane approach, which was also there, but was also about the counter-arguments. I think it's refreshing to see Palestinians putting out each and every argument as spelled out by the Israelis and countering it with, I think, a more rational, more reasonable argument that is quite simple and quite comprehensive for the audience, at least at the UN Security Council, to understand, but also for people around the world to get. But what we also get, Mariam, and I think probably this is the most important for me coming out of this sort of a session, especially at the United Nations Security Council, as the South African have said, and as the Palestinians have said, is meant or is concerned with peace and security, with international peace and security. Where are we today, 8 months into this war on Gaza? Well, I think we have two well-defined camps, and that just came out across at the UN Security Council. There's a war camp and there's a peace camp. The Palestinian representative was talking about peace, the need for peace, the need for ceasefire, the need for negotiation and diplomacy. The Israeli representative was talking about war, the need for war, the need for the continuation of war, the need for more offenses, the need to intensify the war. The reason why there are no other alternatives to war, right? To basically genocide, because they had to annihilate Hamas and so on and so forth. And this idea, the idea of a well-defined war camp and peace camp, is not just at the Security Council. Now they are the world over. You see warmongers versus peace activists. You see students versus cynical elites. You see might versus right. You see peaceful protests, and you see conspiracies in dark rooms. You see mafiosi-type shakedowns, and you see people crying out for peace. You see people signing petitions for peace, and you see people signing rockets to kill Palestinian families. You see international human rights organizations, and you see arms lobbyists and Israeli lobbyists. So the entire world today is responding in one of two ways. War camps, which is quite a minority, and basically lies with Israel's main ally today, the Sunak, the Schultz, and the Bidens of the world. And then there's the rest of the world that wants peace, that wants a ceasefire, that wants an end to this genocidal conflict.
I'm just wondering about that. You speak about the rest of the world, and how conscious are the Palestinians when they deliver their remarks at a meeting like this of that particular audience? This growing movement that has been dismissed as anti-Semitic, threatened to have their careers and their reputations destroyed, yet it is a movement that remains defiant. When the Palestinian ambassador is speaking about the hypocrisy of the politics, he's making arguments about the failure to comply with international law. Is this who he is really trying to reach out to and to communicate with?
This is the thing, right? I mean, in as much as the Palestinians are making, today at least, a very important discourse with a very important narrative towards peace and justice, I think a lot of the arguments made in the speech are actually inspired by Jewish activists around the world, by peace activists around the world, by this new movement for social justice, for equality, anti-racism around the world. I think young people and peace activists and liberal progressives around the world are teaching leaders, especially cynical leaders, lessons every day in politics and diplomacy and international relations. So when the Palestinian is speaking about how Israel is exploiting, prostituting anti-Semitism and the Holocaust, he's using those arguments that's really been made so eloquently now by Jewish activists here in the West, notably, against the Netanyahus of the world, saying, stop carrying war in our name, stop exploiting anti-Semitism in our name, stop carrying genocide in the name of the Holocaust. So I think these arguments are now widespread, and people no longer buy into the charge of anti-Semitism when, as the Palestinian spokesman said, if the ICC is anti-Semitic and the ICJ is anti-Semitic and the UN is anti-Semitic and International Human Rights Organization anti-Semitic and South Africa and so on and so forth, well, then everyone is anti-Semitic. And when everyone is anti-Semitic, no one is anti-Semitic.
All right, thank you very much. Political analyst Marwan Bishara joining us there from Paris. Thank you, Marwan.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.